My goal in this video is to explain group by as simple as possible to you. Let's take a look. So group by average salary. So what does group by do? Well, I think you need to figure this out because it is a problem if you don't understand this in SQL. Group by is so important, and I didn't think it was important before I learned group by. But here, group by allows you to group by the department. You're selecting department, and then you can perform aggregations on what you're grouping by. So you're grouping by average salary. That allows you to then perform an aggregation of the average salary for the department. Really important to understand this concept because if you don't use group by, it causes issues and you will get an error message. So if you put department ID in your select statement and don't use a group by, you're going to get an error message that you don't, and you need to put the group by in there. So it's the only way that code will work. Now, let's take a look at another example, count customers by country. So here you select the country and you want to count the customers in each country. We're grouping by the country. So you're going to get a column with country and then another column with count for those countries. You can see how count uses count all. That basically just means that it's going to do a row. So that little asterisk with a count parentheses around it just means it's counting those rows. So it makes it a little bit simpler. But the main thing is here, you're counting the rows for that country to know what those customers are. Now we have total quantity sold by product category. Here you select product category. You want to know the sum of the quantities sold from sales. You're grouping by product category. I think you're hopefully seeing a trend here of how group by works, but I want you guys to see this, so make sure you stay tuned because if you see this, it will benefit your career as a data analyst or data scientist. Here we have count employees under each manager. So here you can see how you can do different aggregations. We're using count. So we're counting the amount of the employee IDs. You're not going to want to sum that. You're counting it, but you're grouping by manager. So we want to see the managers who have and their employees and how many employees they have. And that's what that group by is doing because we're grouped by manager. But if we grouped by employee ID to the manager, we probably have one manager. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but just see what you're aggregating by is your group by. Now, here we have count sales per year, select year sale date, count all from sales. So again, we're counting the rows, we're doing something a little bit different here. We're selecting the year of the sales date. Sometimes in different SQL, just be aware that sometimes you have to use the extract or date part. Just make sure you understand how dates work in your language. But in this particular case, you're using year, sales date, that's going to get your year, and you're going to group by the year, and you can break this up into months and year. So let's, for instance, you had different stuff going on, but here we want to just get the year out of that. We're counting the rows for that sales date, and we see the sales dates that meet this criteria by the year. So that's how you can count sales by year. Let's take a look at average project duration. Here we have another kind of time situation. Time is very important for SQL. Always read, whether it's MySQL, MySQL, you're in Snowflake, Tableau SQL, any SQL that you're using, make sure that you know what's going on with dates and time. I would read the documentation and try some different things and practice it in your database, depending on what you're doing, whether it's MySQL or any other Microsoft SQL, whatever. There's tons out there, different flavors of SQL is what they call them, but just be aware of that. Here we can see this project is average duration. You're getting the average. So it's going to take the average. Just make sure that is an actual duration field. When you do that, you're grouping by the status. So your status, which average duration of those statuses. You can see where you can really get into aggregations using group by very easily. Now, let's take a look at total amount spent by customer. So how do we do that? We get select customer ID. You want to sum their entire amount. That's the total amount from orders and group by the customer ID. So you can find your customers that are spending the most. And maybe you can run like a marketing campaign for those particular customers. Here we have count orders per month. So here's another date situation. You might use extract date part. You might use this syntax. Here we're using month and the order date, which months have the most orders. Keep aware, we don't know what the time is. This is going to break it down by month only. So like January, February. So we're just going to see the months where we have the most orders, not necessarily the years. But you're going to count the ordered IDs. So the amount of order IDs from orders, and then you're grouping by your month and order date to break it down by month and get the counts per month. Again, that doesn't take in years or anything else, but you do get that. Let's take a look at average price by brand. So we select our brand, get our average price column, and that's the column we're averaging. You can do different aggregations on that from products, which is the table. I didn't explain from, but from is the table that you're pulling from. And you're going to group by brand, and that will give you that information. So as you can see, group by is helpful. Let's do one more. What if you want to find the maximum sales by region? You can select region, get the max sales, aggregations, and then you're going to group by the region there from the stores table. So the store sales table. So that's how you do it. So you're selecting your region. Just matter whatever you choose your select also has to be in a group by. Now in the future of proofing this, you could actually, if you're in Snowflake, which is a newer kind of SQL application that a lot of people are using, you can actually use group by all. Just test to make sure that your SQL database supports group by all. That allows you not to have to write out what's in your select statement and can be super helpful. So just know that that is an option for you. In the end, just practice group by alls and you'll be doing some amazing aggregations very quickly in SQL.